It's wonderful to have you guys all here. I would like to ask Yann to come up, and it's really a joy for him to be with us this evening. Can I give you a hug? It's really an amazing honor to have Yann be with us this evening. How many know his work? Wonderful. You know, he started out actually at 20, correct? As a, was it at a game warden or working in the forest as a, yeah? And then he went off to Africa and actually studied lions in Kenya. And what you may not know is that his first book was called Lion, but the interesting thing about that is that it also allowed him to learn how to become a balloon pilot.
This was to make my living, to pay the study.
Yes, and from that led to work with the National Geographic, Geo, Paris Match, Figaro, and...
You went on Wikipedia, huh?
I had no choice. Yes, did you write that?
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yes.
But the amazing thing about really his life, at least from my perspective, is that he cares. He cares about the earth, he cares about the environment, he cares about the planet, he cares about animals, and he cares about people. And this movie, Human, which we're going to be watching this evening, is actually began as a result of two other movies he had done called Home and 7 Billion People. And it was the intersection of this work that resulted in this movie. And I've seen part of the movie, and it is quite, really quite profound. And what it does for people, I believe, exposes individuals to the world, to our planet, and the lives of other people. And we know that when people see other people, when they see how they live, how they suffer, where they live, it allows us to connect. And it allows us to understand that, in fact, we are one. And that's the goal of my own work, and really that is the reason that we do what we do, to recognize our oneness and to recognize how our actions affect others, but also to teach people that the acts that they do, the manner in which they interact with the world and others actually is acting towards yourself. And when you're able to connect with another, it really has a profound effect and actually makes you feel good. Everyone from the back, come up, don't worry.
Yeah. You have some room in the front, so please.
All these lay people, come up here in front so everyone sees you. Really, Yann is one of my heroes. I just want to give him a hug and a kiss. Because really his work has impacted people all over the world. And his mission is really to help us save the planet. And being with him and others like him who care so much and devote so much of their life and so much of their energy to doing the type of work that he does and to connecting is really profound, and it really touches my heart. So thank you for being with us.
You know, thanks to invite me here. You know, I love my job. I love what I'm doing. So it's not difficult for me. I love what I'm doing. And I think this movie is quite important for me. You know, I have the idea of this movie in the 80s. I have an helicopter problem, and I stop in a small village in Mali. You know, with some of these people we call substantiary farmers. You know, these people who are not selling anything, they're working the ground every day to feed their family. And I stayed for 3 days with them, and they explained me their life, eyes in the eyes. And it was so strong, you know, what they told me. So I have the idea after the work, the Earth from Above, perhaps they don't tell you, but from the 90 for 1990 jusqu'à the year 2000, I was working on this project, Earth from Above, and I was flying around the planet to make a book and to make exhibition. Perhaps some people have seen my exhibition outside, Earth from Above? No?
Earth from Above.
Yeah, no, yeah, this exhibition, and decide to have the word of the people who are living under my photography. So the project 7 Billion Other came from this. And some years ago, I decided to make a movie mixing what I love to do, the aerial photography and this interview. And when I have seen the movie Tree of Life, perhaps you remember that this movie Tree of Life was the beginning of the beginning of the planet, anyway, you understand. And after the universe going to the intimity of a family, I decided. And also I was very inspired by the Cat Sea trilogy. You know this movie, Cat Sea trilogy? It was a movie made in the 80s with the Philip Glass music. And it was 3 movies, very, very famous. Sergio Reggio is amazing. And after the team have done Baraka. Perhaps you know this movie, Baraka? Yeah, and so I was very inspired by this movie also. You will see, because a lot of aerial photography with only music, without word. I think we're going to show the movie now. We talk too much.
I talked.
No, it's okay. So please, you stop, you close your telephone, please, and you open your heart. Voilà.
The other wonderful treat we're going to have is we're going to show also another film, briefly, at least part of it, after this, by one of your colleagues, Anastasia Mikova.
Anastasia was here.
Where's Anastasia?
Anastasia, viens ici si tu veux. Viens, non,
yes,
tu veux venir?
And
after the movie, we will talk about our new movie named Woman. We are working on a project for the next 2 years, and 6 months ago we began this amazing project about women. My dear Anastasia, vous êtes la femme qui va parler maintenant.
This is what she looks like. Okay.
That's me. No, it's true that we now have started working on a new film, which will be completely dedicated to women, and so there will be only women talking for once. And well, our very modest aim is to try to understand what is it to be a woman in today's world, and what place we women could have in tomorrow's world. And so to do this film, we joined our forces together, 70-year-old man and 35-year-old woman. So we hope we would manage to to show something interesting.
And we will show the teaser of the movie just after that. Okay? Bon.
So, boom. Yes, voila. And we are ready to watch the movie. So we hope you enjoy, and we'll have
and we come back we come back for Q&A. Yes.
Yes. So here we go. Shall we sit down?
Okay.
Wherever
merci.
you'd like.
Okay. Sorry, the movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's a little bit long. But you have to imagine that the first movie was 10 hours. It was so difficult for us to edit and to cut the amazing, brilliant word. And we have done 2,000 interviews, and we use on the movie only 1 for 2,000. So you can imagine how So it's why we are opening in my foundation in France a place where you can see all the things we have don't put inside the movie.
So we're going to do some questions and answers for a few minutes, or should we watch?
No, I think questions.
Yeah. Questions?
Anastasia, I've done 600 interviews of this movie, and you want to know how we choose the people. It's only the first question. So please, Anastasia, so how you choose the people?
Randomly. Yeah, maybe we can sit down. So yes, what happened actually is that for this film, we, on one side, we had specific topics that Yann wanted to highlight in the film, and he really wanted to talk about, like immigration, like homophobia, like, yeah, things like that. And so for these topics, we have specifically, you know, organized shootings where we went and where we searched for people who were in these kind of situations. And on the other hand, there were these other shootings, which were maybe the most difficult ones in a way, because they were about universal things like, I don't know, happiness, like family, like childhood, and actually everyone can speak about that. Like, I mean, everyone in this room could share a story about all these things. So in each country, we had people who helped us to prepare the shootings for months in advance. And so when they asked me, like, what profiles are you looking for? What are the people you want? And I was like, yeah, someone who could share something about his childhood. Yes. And so it was quite difficult to explain. But the most important thing for us was to get into emotions, not only into the story itself. And it's actually what we discovered. Maybe, I don't know if we discovered it, but it's really kind of, I think the most universal language is based on our emotions. Because, well, someone who smiles, he make you smile without you understanding. And someone who cries, well, he will make you sad, and you don't even know the story yet. And that was about it. It was about going deep into your emotions, going deep into your life, and forgetting about everything, and just make a kind of introspection in your life. And it was very important for people to understand that we were going to do these kind of interviews, and not just, you know, how are you, how's the weather, you know, these kind of things. So these are interviews that lasted maybe for 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. So you don't get like these kind of answers, you know, after 10 minutes of conversation. It's really little by little you get, and you dig inside, and then you get somewhere very deep. And then there is a story which is released that a lot of people didn't even expect themselves to share at that moment. And so for me, this movie is about these kind of stories. And I always, well, with Yann, we always say that we don't have 20 incredible moments in your life that made you become the person you are. But generally, we have 1 or 2 fundamental things that are really important and that made us and that impacted our life. And for us, the whole interview was there to get to this point, to get to see what's your, you know, story would be, what's your moment, what's in that. And so the whole interview was based on questions which would lead there.
It's a little bit how going to a psychologist. So you begin slowly, and after you don't speak for the journalist, for the camera, you speak for you. And that's the secret. But you must give a lot of empathy, a lot of love to the people. They will understand we are trying to listen and to take the best for them.
And also, it's quite. I'm very talkative, so you should tell me if it's too long. So, what's also interesting is that actually, when Yann called me and said that he wanted to do this film, and I asked him, like, how would you like to interview people? Because I have been doing documentaries for quite a long time, and he said, well, we will put them in front of the camera, take them out of the context, create this black box, create this neutral background, and then we will ask them very intimate questions and say, okay, now you look there and you share your story. And I was like, you are crazy. No one will share his or her story in front of the camera. And how can you forget the camera if it's in front of you all the time? Like that, I have it now. And it's quite far here, but ours is much closer. And so it's funny because in the beginning I thought that it would never work. So I kind of said, okay, we can try, but I said, okay, then he will change his mind. And and so we started the interviews. And what happened is actually it worked, as you can see. And I think it worked because what happened is that even though we traveled all around the world and we have been to 70 different countries and we went to see people in very, as you saw, very different situations and very different kind of, you know, path of life. But what happened is that each time we created this black box, we put them out of their life. And so little by little, when you're in this context, you just forget about everything. And actually the best interviews for me are those where the person wasn't even talking to us anymore. It wasn't even a dialogue anymore. It was more of an introspection. And so the person was really going like into, you know, her own life, and things were coming up, and they, yeah, as I said, a lot of them didn't expect them to share these kind of stories. And I think that the context of the interview, the way it was filmed, really helped this situation.
So obviously there are many tragic stories here and a lot of pain. Was it difficult to be with this over and over, or was it outweighed by the incredible joy and happiness that some other people experienced?
It was difficult. I wouldn't say it's not difficult. It is, and we, you know, we are doing this new film about women now, and it's still the same thing. I was wondering now. I think I have approached 1,000 interviews and overall between the two projects, and it's like, you know, sometimes I think about that and meeting all these people who share such intimate things with you and completely open way. It's not easy, and there are days that I can't talk anymore afterwards, and I have to cancel all other interviews because it's just not possible. You can't go on with someone else. And you know, it's just too impactful. But what helped us a lot, and you know, with Yann we coordinated all the journalists also who worked, and I talked a lot with them about that, and we felt all more or less like the same, is that quite often after the interview, when the person would share something really, really personal, and you know, as I said, sometimes not aware that, you know, it's not just the two of us, but millions, not thousands, millions of people would see it all around the world. I was really insisting on that, saying, you know, there will be millions of people. Are you sure about that? And myself, I don't know if I feel good about sharing your story because it's so strong and it's so heavy, and etc. And a lot of people told me, most of them told me, you know what, I don't know if I will be in the film or not. But actually, just releasing that made me feel better. I feel better now. It's like as if I was liberated. And so when you hear something like that, it really helps you, because you also feel that you kind of, you know, you participated in a way. Because when you are in those countries where people have nothing, and when they in front of you and you are there with them and you share this strong moment, and they share so many, you know, yeah, as you said, difficult things from their life, and then what you do, you just go back to your hotel and you have lunch. But I mean, yeah, we're all humans, so I would not go and live in India because of this, you know. And so obviously you feel the guilt. But then when you think about that lady, that Indian lady, and she was speaking to all the politicians, and then we know that we managed to bring her message to the United Nations in front of the General Assembly, in front of all these important people, and just to let this message through and think like maybe some of them have thought for a minute about what she tried to tell them and maybe acted a little bit differently. For us, it's also important to know that, well, you know, the message had passed through.
Just to ask one more question. Are there people in this story, and I'm sure there are many you deeply feel for, but some that you've continued to stay in touch with or interact with who moved you so deeply?
Some, and not too much. Not too much. So many people, they have no internet, they live far away. But in all the screening, you have always one. Is nobody from the was interview here on the movie? Because all the screening we have done here was some people we were interviewing the movie, so they come back, we'll receive mail, things like that, yes. And also we work a lot with NGO, so people ask us how we can help, so we send the address, the contact, if you want, like for the last, you know, the guy in Kinshasa, he said, I have a mission, you know, I must find my... Because we all have a mission here. It's so clever what he says. God must have a mission for me. I have to find it. This, I love it, because we have to look for this. And a lot of people want to help him. So we send these people to the NGO who is working in Kinshasa with all the child in the street. So, and also we brought some refugees in France. Always a long story. We have a lot of friends, yes, sure.
But yeah, the thing is that for me personally, because it's true that when you face so many different people, obviously you can't stay in touch with everyone, and you don't know why, but certain people would touch you more than others. just for a reason. And then what happens that a lot of people come to us after a screening and say, okay, there are so many people in need, and yeah, so many situations. What can I do? I feel a little bit powerless, and you know, it's just like it's as if it's too much. And what I say, and it's not just words. Really, honestly, it's something that I experienced from this film. Is that just by helping one person? Because I personally did that. I just helped one particular man that I interviewed, and who was in need, and who was like an immigrant, completely lost, and I made something that changed his life today. And I mean, obviously it helped him, but it helped me so much. And now to know just this person that I don't know, who's not from my family, who's not no one to me, but just his life changed because I was able to do this for him. I mean, it's enough. You don't have to save the universe. It's enough.
I think this movie make you want to help. I think so. You know what I can do. You know, it's he was in the internet. They call a film for action, and we are number one for the last 2 years with this movie.
But, you know, this is the thing that people forget. Sometimes, like this movie, you can feel overwhelmed. But everyone in this room has the capacity to take a bit of time, a little effort, to really change someone's life, and we forget about that. And sometimes it can be as simple as simply saying hello or showing that you care to someone who thinks no one cares.
Now we're going to show you the... No, because I think like not too much. We're going to... Anastasia is an amazing journalist. Is why we decide to work together for the next the next movie on women. And we are going to show you the small teaser now. So this teaser was made with the image from Human, because we made this teaser some months ago. And you will understand. Yeah, so you will understand why we do this movie, and we'll explain after to you. So I don't think you need more explanation about that. We're going to do 3,000 interviews, and it's really it's incredible how the women want to speak. If you want to be part of this movie, you can come to see us, see Anastasia, because I'm not doing interview of women. It's Anastasia and his team. I will do some. And I have to say, even today, after 6 months of work, I changed my mind on my mother, on my sister, even to my wife. It's amazing what the women have to say, what is to be a woman in this man world. It's very amazing. Can we, my dear Anastasia?
Oh, it's true. That it's interesting because it's a film which is close to human in the way that we're still focusing on women through their voices and through their testimonies, because we think that's the most, the strongest thing you can share. It's just your own story, and you can understand so many things through a personal story, and you connect to someone so strongly by just understanding the other person. But it's not only a film about, like, let's say, women's rights or something like that. It's something really deeper that we try to touch, and to try, as I said previously, to try to understand what actually is it to be a woman. So we talk about, obviously, like important, big issues like empowerment, like, I don't know, financial independence, like work, like happiness, marriage, and all that. But also we talk about periods, and we talk about sexual experience. And it's funny because my husband, who works with me also on this film, who's a cameraman, the other day he told me, like, listening to all these women talking about their periods, now I understand better that's moments in the month when you are like... So yeah, let's hope men can also understand things thanks to this film. But no, more seriously, it's really for us giving a voice to women. And while we were doing this human, we really felt that there is something going on around the world with women right now, because I think thanks maybe also to social networks, to all the internet, etc. Women, even though those who live in very close countries where, there are not a lot of possibilities, they know how is it going elsewhere, and they don't want to be silent anymore. They really want to take the opportunity to express themselves, and we want to give them this opportunity.
Well, the Women's March was actually quite extraordinary, wasn't it? We have some time for questions. Does anyone have any questions?
We need also some mécènes for this film, so keep in your mind if you know a very rich person around you.
There are none in Silicon Valley that I've seen so far. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask you, what are your plans for including this film or parts of it into curriculum for schools, for colleges, universities? Have you been contacted by school administrations? Had Stanford University's School of Education expressed any interest in this book?
If you are interested, you are welcome. Very. No, but if Stanford would do something like that, I will love to do it. In France, in fact, with the Minister of Education, we have done some special movie about homophobia, about racism, about happiness. We have done for the children. But this movie is, we have to do something special because this is not too much for the youngs. But I will happy to do it. No problem at all. If you want, if Stanford want to do it, you are welcome. We will love definitely to do it and to spread this in America free, because all my movie always paid by mécène, so it's not money to make, so it's free. It's why we work.
Maybe speaking of that, maybe the next movie is about children, because sometimes children are very wise and actually can guide us.
Frankly, I've always a little bit disappointed when we interview children. If you are children in Syria, you have something to say. If children have been sold by the mother, you have something to say. If you have if children in your happy family, Very few things to say. It's always the same thing.
I don't agree.
No,
I think it's not about being disappointed. It's very difficult to mix children's testimonies with adults' testimonies, because obviously the way you see and you look at things is really different. And so we have interviewed quite a few children for
we put very few
but
in the
we
movie.
put very few, and those who it's true have experienced hardship in their life, and so have this kind of adult almost self-reflection, because the difference in the point of view was really striking when you put it together with adult people. But I think that maybe, well, for me personally, when you just take children apart and you do something, it's a totally different movie. It's a different way of looking at it.
I think
sorry. Now, when the parents divorce, sometimes the children say something amazing, but you have this strong thing happen in your life, to discover the real life. And this time you can say something. If you live in a very happy life, nothing strong anyway.
Well, my only comment would be, as a doctor and seeing the stuff that I see, even children from affluent backgrounds who are theoretically happy, actually, if you sit with them and you talk to them, and as you said, you spent long hours with them, but you have to ask them about topics, because, I know children who I've taken the time to sit with, and they'll talk about how other children suffer, or how they see the world, or why can't certain problems be solved. And actually, sometimes you can get, even from more affluent backgrounds, very deep comments. But I think you're right. It's if you're trying to evoke, if you're trying to evoke empathy and compassion and get people emotional, sometimes, obviously, that is brought on by deep suffering.
Est-ce que vous avez des questions? Voilà.
Can you tell us how you shoot from a helicopter? You seem to be very close to your subject, but you don't disturb them. Is that a very...
Alors, je vais vous expliquer. We fly with an helicopter with a camera named Cineflex. It's a very special camera with no gyro inside, so it's no vibration. We always work in slow motion. I don't know if you saw it, but we always work with a half speed and twice the speed. And when, for example, you arrive at the caravan in the beginning, this big caravan in north of Pakistan on the Chinese border. When we arrive with the helicopter, everybody stop. The guy, it's an helicopter filming, so they take the telephone, taking photo, and everything stop. So I have to land and to explain them if we do a movie, please, can we do it again? It was the same thing when in Madagascar was building the big hole, they're looking for sapphire. Is it sapphire in English? Sapphire, it's this big hole made by hand. It was amazing. So when I arrived, I saw these people digging, putting the ground, the earth. Comment on dit la terre en anglais? La terre. The soil. They are putting the soil, and on top, it was amazing. Everybody stopped and think the same thing with the camera. So I explained, please. And so we do a lot with an helicopter. Sometimes we do, like for the swimming pool, we are near the camera from the top. Yeah. And sometimes, and perhaps in the beginning, you have the big water coming with a very slow motion. This is China with a dam. Every year they open the dam to clean the sediment. So this is an amazing image. So we were shooting that. So I'm always trying, because this small part I've forgotten to thank my friend Armand Amar. We have done the music, because the music is amazing. He's a very, very famous musician in France. He's doing a lot of world music and things like that. And so we tried to put this small sequence without comments. But on this movie, you have no comments at all. So you do your own comments. I think the music and the landscape make you thinking. And that's what's a little bit the secret of the movie. And I was very afraid, because I was thinking to do that, but I don't know if it's going to work. So for 1 year, we're filming, and we don't know how we're doing the editing is going to work or not. So I'm so happy when I see this was working well. Voilà, I'm feeling from an helicopter, monsieur. And the last question, because you don't ask me before, they're going to ask me, I'm going to answer. The last image about the trees, you know, these trees in the last image is in Bolivia, on the desert. And it's water, you know, only the water. That's this fractal image, you know, we have the same in the leaves, in the veins, it's the same thing. And there's a water on the salt, and it's very red, pink. The small algae and animals, this is why it's become pink, and this gives a color to the flamingo. And this,
Aren't there shrimp, I think, in there?
yeah, exactly.
Eat. Question for you. So, in between some of the scenes where you would have someone speaking, you would interject the face,
Yes, yeah.
another person. Were they related at all, or was it just another?
Alors, sometimes they are related. For example, when homophobia is always gay people in the middle, and because we don't want to mix. And sometimes we do the editing. You know, sometimes it's 1 hour interview and we take small pieces. So we have to put the face in the middle for the editing, not to cut too much shows when we do the movie. And also, I want to put the maximum of face of these people that were filming. I need it, you know, so it's why we put a maximum of face in.
Because we interviewed 2,000 people and only 120 on the film. And so even though we wanted each time that there were maybe sometimes people telling the same story but several different people, so if there is one, for us, the story is there and that's the most important. But anyway, we wanted to be, to have, you know, all those people as much as possible just to be in the film, even if it was for several seconds. So that's why also we...
The movie we show in Venice, in the Venice Festival, was 3 hours and 20 minutes. So it was longer. In fact, on the refugee sequence, all the face you see are refugee. And on the work sequence, all the people were working in Brazil. It wasn't related to the theme. I don't know if I want the theme of to forgive. I want the theme of to war. You know, this. I was amazed by the veteran in America. I was amazed. You know, this veteran. He says, I want to kill somebody. You know, every day, you have between 10 and 15 suicide of veteran in America. Is more veteran dead from suicide than from combat. It's amazing. I think the war makes you crazy completely.
I can't comment because it's so overwhelming. I mean, you know, we have a relationship with the Veterans Hospital, and the amount of post-traumatic stress disorder, the amount of depression, as you point out, the amount of suicide, and just the horrible devastation, not only of the mind, but their bodies. And it's so painful because it's so useless, you know. Another question?
I don't catch you completely. Why I don't put the name of the people? Alors, you can go on YouTube because we are working on Google on this movie. And so you can on Google, you can on YouTube you have the long version of the movie, 4 hours and 30 minutes. So you can see some more, and also. And all on 3 parts. And also we have a lot of interview we are not in the movie. I think it's 25 hours of interview on internet. And you can know the name of the people and also the name of the landscape. Where we have done this, shooting this. And we try in the beginning to put on the movie because too many information, and it changed a little bit how you listen to people. The perception was different. Okay? So we try. It was a big argument between all the team around me.
Because, for example, it's very, to make you understand, the first testimony that you have in the film, this guy who is in jail, and so he starts, and you don't know where he is, and you don't know who he is, and he starts by his childhood, saying that his father was violent with him. And so little by little, you get attached to this man, and you feel pity for him. And then little by little, you understand that this man actually has done something bad, and that this man actually is in jail, and that he killed a woman and a child. But when you get there, you already feel attached to him, and you already look at him differently. And I think that if you have the information of, okay, this man in a prison of that, you know, state, etc., right from the start, your perception would be obviously already judgmental. It's normal. I mean, that's the way we are. And then, so this whole idea of putting people out of context and knowing nothing about them, for us, it was also a way to be as much neutral as possible and to try to focus on something else that these people have inside. That's, yeah.
That's the usual question.
Some people were extremely happy in very difficult situations. And I wonder how many of these people are so happy. And what do you think about these people? How did they find this happiness in this state?
Well, it's actually what was the most striking, I think, while we were doing interviews, is that actually to be there with a lot of people who were experiencing things that you think you would not be able to overcome, just maybe half of what they are experiencing, and seeing how resilient they were and how strong they were and how capable of of joy they were. And we were, and especially French people are always complaining about everything. And so, and so we were there, the water is not, hot enough, that is not, and then these people who have nothing. And it's a bit a cliche to say that, but it was really amazing to feel that. And that a lot of those people were ready to share the last thing they had with us, because it was important for them to show how they wanted to welcome us. And so each time it was also for us, we thought of how can we give back. And this whole idea of, for example, quite a lot of people ask me, did you pay people? Did you give them money, etc.? But for us, it was never about giving people money, because when it's like we come and then we pay you and then, okay, give me your story. You can't create a relationship by doing this. And so for us, it was more spending time with people and helping, sometimes local NGOs, and just bringing them some products they need, etc., and more create a connection. Because it's true that people, and I think maybe that's also a lesson for us, that people who are in need are quite often more powerful and have more inner strength than those who have a lot. I don't know why, but it's true. But I don't have an explanation why.
How do you envision that things like this get translated to politicians and policymakers and people in your position, Dr. Doty, across the universities and think tanks? What is the responsibility you feel to actually facilitate these people that actually are part of this problem to start with?
Well, I'm glad you gave me an easy question. Well, these are very difficult problems. It would seem logical, and that if someone saw this amount of suffering, this amount of tragedy, that they would be motivated to help others, to sacrifice, to understand that we're all part of the same family, and also that it's our obligation as a fellow human being to alleviate suffering. Yet, over and over, many of these politicians are completely blind to these issues, and I won't make any specific comments about our present administration. But how is this even possible? Another human being to be so cold, so callous, to turn people away, to not care, and especially sometimes when it's put into the context of religious beliefs, which is even more shocking, because fundamentally at the core of every religion is compassion. Jesus did not say, I'm not going to care for the meek or the poor or the suffering or the homeless because they're a different political party or a different religion. It was an openness and a caring. And I think the only thing that changes that is each of us. And we have to make our voice heard. The problem, of course, is that you can't convince other people by force. It does not work, and it only hardens their heart. the only thing that will change people's mind is love, period. And
but you know, about politicians, we have always this question: are we showing the film to politicians? In fact, to have the politician we deserve. They are like us. They are like us. You know, they do what we want. They are like us. They are not more courageous. They are more clever than us. They are like us, and nobody force me to do something I don't want. You know, I have to choose. I have to give sense to my life. I decide to give a sense because the life have no sense. You decide to give sense to your life, and you make your action. This movie is made to act what you do yourself. It's not a lobby forcing you to buy this thing you don't want to buy, to take the petrol. You know, this morning we have in a small talk about climate change. You say, yeah. Trump and things like that. You don't believe to climate change. I believe to climate change. The problem is, you believe to climate change, you don't believe to climate change, but you do the same thing. You buy the car, you use the same petrol, you eat meat. You are like everybody. You believe or you don't believe, you do the same. So it's something else, you know. And it's very difficult to understand. I think really that you choose yourself. And this movie is done for you. Not for the politician, not for your neighbors, it's not for you. Qu'est-ce que je fais moi? It's very important to understand that. And this I believe strongly that we can decide. Because I'm not optimistic, I have to say, about our future. I have to say, frankly, because I'm an ecologist and I look on the data. But it's too late to be pessimistic. It's too late to be pessimistic. Only thing is that act. And acting makes you happy. To act, make you. This is very important to understand. Everything you give, everything you share, make you a better person and make you happy. And this movie is about that.
this is our last question, and then we must say goodbye for the. I think he was asking about the individuals. How did you choose each individual?
We had people who worked with us in each country, and so we had, as I said, sometimes specific topics. So they would search for people who would have a story, with a link to that or that topic, like, for example, veterans or people who are sentenced to, life sentence here in the US, for example. Or we went to TED, or we went to Burning Man, because we wanted to have different kind of people. And then, on the other hand, it was the most difficult was to convince everybody else to talk about very personal stuff. So it wasn't at all about age criteria or about the profession or about, something like that. It was more about talking to the person and seeing if she is willing or he is willing to share a very intimate and very personal story in front of the camera, and then if she's capable of sharing it, because not everybody is capable of that. So that was the only criteria.
And the first theme I want to work it was war. Why we are still fighting like Middle Age? Why we are so proud to sell weapons like you have done in Saudi Arabia some times ago? Why? And please, France, the same thing. We are the third building weapons, and we are so proud when we sell this bloody Rafale, the plane. So, and war was very something I want to understand. So it's why we went to Rwanda. What is it? Bon, d'accord. Rwanda, we went to Centrafrica, we went to Palestine, Israel, we went to Iraqi in a camp, we went to Cambodia. I went to Ukraine because she's Ukrainian, she wanted to interview Ukrainian people. It was very important for me to understand how, you pass the wall, you want to kill somebody, you hate. And now after you're able to forgive. That's the main thing, is the key of the word. So war was something very, very important for me, one of the very important theme about that. And so we choose a theme, and so we have to, and this is why this budget was quite important of the movie, because you have done a lot. We travel a lot for homophobia. When the country with to be gay is forbidden, and it's 15 countries is forbidden, you death penalty, in 50 countries completely forbidden. In fact, my movie is banned in a lot of Arab countries parce que because of homophobia and because of Palestinian Israeli things. In all Arab countries, the movie cannot be shown. Comment? Il faut conclure? Non, pas du tout.
I think we must say fini.
No.
Thank you all so much.